This is Martin Drummond with Progressive News. It is Thursday, May 28th, 2020.
Many members of the caucus didn't get. One was that the tax break in the bill, like they didn't score it until after the bill was passed, and it's like $190 billion tax break. So it's as big as some of the bailout programs. Then the idea that the $455 billion Wall Street side of the equation is going to be leveraged up at least 10 times. So it's really, like a 4 trillion or 4.5 trillion. Yeah, and I think.
Okay, I want to explain something to you. And yes, I'm an economist as well as everything else, it seems like, at least related to progressives. I do study pretty much anything progressive. Plus, I got my bachelor's degree in business. So, um, I'm going to just explain to you something that should be obvious to anybody because it's not really economics, it's just common sense. But so many people don't get it because when Matt Taibbi says, by the way, he's got to be Lebanese, right? Taibbi? Probably. Anyway, so when he talks about, oh, okay, so it's got to be 10 times that much, so it's trillions and trillions of dollars, right? And everybody thinks, oh my God, how rich. Ooh, it kind of sparks your little mind, your greedy little mind. Everybody's. I mean, mine too. But let me explain something that is so obvious that nobody seems to get it. And that is about being rich, okay? At some point, and it's really not very far, probably $200,000 a year, say you're making, or maybe if you want to talk like ultra rich, $2 million a year. Okay, you can only own so many. Well, you can own more, but you can only cruise the oceans on one yacht at a time, unless you want to have them come side by side and put one foot in one yacht and one foot in the other yacht and say, I'm sailing two yachts at the same time. Okay? So you can only pile up so much food, you can only have so many cars, if you're Jay fucking Leno. Fucking asshole. Uh, all I'm saying is when you're talking billions of dollars, at some point it becomes meaningless in terms of what you can do. Okay, you can get away with murder, right? Up to a certain extent. You pay 20 people to murder 20 people or something, and sooner or later you're going to get caught, right? So even murder, you can only pay for so much. You can only buy so much. That's really what I'm saying, is that you can only buy so much. And after that, that money is worthless in those terms, right? Okay, so then what do these rich people want these billions and trillions of dollars for? You can't buy them anything else. I mean, as it is, they're swapping their companies back and forth just to look cool, I guess. What it buys most of these, the cabal, I guess, is power over you. You, the person listening right now. Me, the person talking. That's what they want. They want power over us because they're afraid of us. They're afraid, probably. I mean, you could come up with a dozen things that they're probably really afraid of. They're probably more afraid of anything, more afraid that we will take all their money away. That somehow it will all end, right? Which, I don't know about you, but I'm not out to end their wealth and their power. Or no, I take that back. That was a mistake. I am out to end their power. See, and then all that they have left is wealth for spending, like I was talking about. And you can only own so many yachts, and you can only own so many, you know, and just hoarding them, you know, what's the point, right? I mean, what's the point in having a ton of food in your garage if it just ends up going bad, right? And, maybe some of these people are psychopaths. Maybe it's something like that. But I think sooner or later psychopaths get found out, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all I want to say is just they're not into it for the goods like you and I are. I mean, I want money because I want food. I want a decent place to live. They're into it for something completely different. They're into it for power over the American people, because I'm just talking about rich Americans right now. And not all of them, obviously, because only a few of them are even in that game, right? The Bushes, the Obamas, uh, and then, I couldn't even tell you exactly who the rich people are. I suppose they're the ones who pay the politicians so much, who give so many contributions and what have you. The people who are buying the influence in government, certainly, even though technically I don't think they need that. I think they get enough power over us just through their ownership of, uh, of assets, companies and this and that, and newspapers and TV stations and magazines and all that kind of stuff. I think they've managed to, but obviously they wouldn't buy politicians if it wasn't part of that self-interest, that desire to control you and me, right? And they're going to talk about Bernie here, and I got to tell you, they talk about him being important in the progressive movement, and not anymore. As soon as he endorsed Joe Biden, which was the second time he did this, he endorsed Hillary. That all came to a screeching halt. Progressives are now independent progressives, just progressives, and Green Party and Democratic Socialists of America. One of these parties is going to come out on top. You got Chris Hedges yesterday coming out for the Green Party presidential nominee, I guess. He could have picked any party. And, I don't even know that he's that important. I think that Jesse Ventura, if he'd run, some of these other people who are truly populist, right? They can't be bought. Now, we said that about Bernie for years, but not because we knew it, but because we hoped it was true and because we were encouraging it. His blind hatred, and I hate Trump too, but it's not blind. It's not blind. I recognize the fact that this country, it's just fine under him, I mean, yes, if you want to take into account the collateral damage he's done in terms of, but you know what? I mean, people were being killed by racism in this country way worse before him. if anything, there's been one death, right? Well, not racism. In that, I'm talking about the girl who got run over in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that is racism, but it was racism against white people who are anti-racist, right? In terms of black race, I mean white on black, yeah. I I don't know, man. You'd have to look at the statistics, and the fact is, they don't keep those statistics. I looked up the FBI database, and I don't know. There's a couple other places. The best place to find out about white on black, mainly, I mean, police, obviously, is now in the last 4 or 5 years. These independent, I don't know if they're Facebook groups or YouTube channels or what, but there's independent ones that have cropped up, and they keep track through different people in different cities. They try to document all the police brutality on black people, I think, or maybe police brutality and murders. Because really, honestly, when before they started doing that, I started looking because I've always been interested in it. I've got my own group called Bad Cops. Bad Cops, what you gonna do? And in the very beginning, I tried looking up fatal shootings by police, and I'll tell you what. Then I started reading about how they're compiled, and I found out that they're completely voluntary, and that at least half of the murders were not reported. Murders, I mean, police shooting fatally other people, never made it into I think it was the FBI database because it was the only one. There basically was no. You would think that the Justice Department would keep its own statistics and make them available. Nah. No. The CDC maybe? I mean, it is a health issue, right? Last time I checked, dying was a health issue. Being murdered was, being killed by a variety of violence. But no, nobody. And I found out that they don't keep death statistics. They're a year behind. Over a year. I was trying to find out how many people died in March of or May of 2019, only to find out that the figures only go up to May of 2019, which means I'm going to have to wait till like July of 2021 to find out how many people died in March of 2020. I mean, this is how we run our country. I mean, you can't study something, you can't research something if nobody's gathering the statistics. At one point, I was looking for black on white crime. I wanted to see, well, just how bad is it? And I couldn't even find that unless I went to Stormwatch, which how reliable is a white supremacist site going to be when it comes to black on white statistics? I mean, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Our whole country is run like a piece of shit because everybody's trying to cover their own ass and trying to make sure that there are not statistics. I mean, what about the Bureau of Statistics or something in the U.S. government? They're not doing anything, man. Not when it's something that anybody could use to do a study, right? It seems like they're picking and choosing what they do, and they just don't do anything that could be even slightly not in the favor of the establishment, so rich white people. So rich white people want to keep all that data out of our hands for some reason, obviously for their own self-interest.
I think they didn't understand that, because people will tell you, oh, 3/4 of the money went to ordinary people. Like, they actually believe. I mean, I guess the question is, do they not know